First question is, what is your understanding of restraining evil? I understand restraining the pedophile from hurting children. On a larger scale, how is evil restrained from hurting, killing others, i.e. Nazi Germany targeting Jews, Pol Pot targeting intellectuals, or currently Hamas brutality killing innocent Israelis? So my understanding of the restraining evil on a national society is not ever in the hands of Christians. This is what Paul talks about in Romans. These are the governmental powers that are not of God's kingdom. These are the kingdoms of the world working against kingdoms of the world. And when we get caught up into that, we miss it. If you want to see how God would do it, then look at the story of Hezekiah. He was the king of Jerusalem, and when the armies came, he sent out the singers, and they sang praise to God and the holiness, and an angel of the Lord came and protected them. Or in Elisha, when the angel armies came and circled around the invading armies, and he led them in and became friends. So the Christian doesn't seek to use the power of the state to do this. These are state powers working with state powers. We will use on individual levels, because we work and have power on an individual level, to restrain individuals from doing harm to other individuals, whether that's a psychotic patient that is wanting to gouge out their own eyes, and we restrain them while we treat them. But the purpose of the restraint on an individual level is for the purpose of not only protecting the innocent, but restoring the person being restrained to godly self-governance. So we treat the psychotic patient with medications and others for the purpose of restoring them to a sanity and governance of themselves and freedom. And when we restrain a criminal, the purpose of the restraint from a Christian worldview is not only to protect the innocent, but to protect that person from searing their conscience, hardening their character, warping their heart, destroying their soul, giving them time to reflect in a timeout period called prison, so that they can reconsider, repent, and ultimately be rehabilitated and restored to society as a self-governing person. Nation states don't do that to each other. The nation state typically is not trying to redeem. It's always done from beastly methods and beastly motives. And so I don't see a real place for the Christian to get involved in those things. There's going to be wars and rumors of wars. The Bible tells us about that, but we keep our minds fixed on Christ. Good morning. I have an observational question involving the 7 levels of development. It seems that most Christians get stuck at level 4. 75% of society, Christian or not, never rise above level 4. They get stuck there. So that's not just Christian, but that's just societal. If I obey the law and keep the rules, I'm safe. In today's environment, I have observed that following the written law in our states and federal government does not lead to safety anymore. One could prove their case and cite the law, but the people in authority disregard these laws at an alarming rate. Thoughts and feedback, please. Yes, because the world does not operate on any principles of righteousness. It's all about power and control, and the laws of man, made-up laws, are always for the purpose of serving those in power. Really. The laws that we put in our Constitution were designed to actually help a people, but the founders that put those laws in said that the system of the United States form of government was only useful to a moral and religious people. If the people become immoral and irreligious, then the system of laws in America lend themselves to exploitation, abuse. And that's where you end up with totalitarian control. And what's happening in America is you destroy God, family, country, the higher altruistic purposes. So we have an amoral and irreligious people, and then you lead them to be godless and exploitive of others, so that they will eventually beg for a totalitarian system of order to come in, and it regresses down to a level 1 or 2 rather than a level 4. And that's what's happening, and it's being driven by Marxists and communists that want a totalitarian system rather than a system of liberty amongst people. But the highest a human government can truly get is a system of law and order, which is a system of level 4 that is governed by a moral and religious people, which is our system is set up for. But we're actually going in reverse, because we've lost our moral roots, and there are godless communists and Marxist people seeking to degrade this society and make it in the image of those totalitarian controls, where you have a few elite rulers exploiting the masses for the benefit of the elites. That's what's happening. Do you have a blog that I can share with someone who has a problem with God killing women and children? I would encourage you to read our blogs on the flood. Go to our website, type in the flood, and read the blog about the flood. And that gives an overview and a principle of what's going on there in the Old Testament. You can also type in things like Sodom and Gomorrah. You might find a couple other blogs. Probably the one called Sword of God may have something along those lines as well.